getting cheated on by a Dusty. And on top of that, he was letting you pay all the bills. Get this man some help. You're just fiending for a cheat. Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic for today is going to be extramarital affairs. We covered that a lot, don't we? People out here just cheating left and right. Everything is going to be included in the description. Let me just go ahead and get into it, child. The first story. I'm the other woman in an older man's marriage. Now, full disclosure, this was originally posted on the Two Hot Takes subreddit. It's another Reddit channel, so just FYI. It says, hi, Two Hot Takes. I'm pretty sure I already know what I need to do. I'm writing this so I can get all my feelings out about the situation and maybe for some reassurance from this community. So to begin, I, 27 female, am a bartender in a vacation town. A few weeks ago, I had a customer come in alone who was pretty shy at first. He was older than me. I would later find out he was in his 40s, and I thought he was really handsome. I chat up all my customers, but eventually it slowed down to a point where he was the only one in the bar for a bit. So we got to talking and hit it off pretty fast. He explained he was in the area on a work trip, and while I don't want to give specifics that would identify him, I found his profession to be really endearing, as he told me he works with disabled children. You would hope that these people are good people, but they're not. She said, we got to know each other throughout my shift, and he gave me his number before he left for the night. I texted him the following morning, and we got to chatting pretty regularly. He came in again during my next shift and afterwards texted me to ask if I'd like to go grab drinks somewhere. Though I wanted to, I had a flight for a wedding the next morning and I needed to pack after work, so I declined. A day or two after I returned from the wedding, he let me know he was back in the area for work and asked again if I'd like to meet up for drinks. This time I said yes, and after I got out of work one night, I met up with him. Our texting up until this point had been vaguely flirty, but neither of us had admitted outright yet that we were attracted to each other, so whether this was a date or not was unknown. I've also never been in a situation like this where I was interested in someone 15 plus years older than me. At some point during our time together, I asked him if he was divorced, since it was hard for me to believe that he'd never been married before at his age, looking the way he did. Oh, so he must have been fine. Damn, he was out there cheating. She said he told me yes, he'd been married and divorced before to a woman he'd been with for over a decade. He made no mention of being with anyone else currently or being in any sort of open relationship. Throughout our time together, we got more flirty, and eventually I admitted that I hoped this was a date and that I was attracted to him. He let me know the feeling was mutual, and at the end of the date, I asked to kiss him, to which he said yes. Oh, we kissed, and he asked if I would come back to his hotel room with him. Don't do it! Don't do it! She said because I had class the next morning, I politely declined, even though I wanted to say yes. We ended up going our separate ways, and ever since that night, we've been texting almost every day. Our conversations got progressively more suggestive, and though it didn't turn into full thing, it got pretty close. I was becoming more and more interested in him and really looking forward to the next time he would be in my town, so I could finally take him up on his offer to join him at his hotel. She was trying to have a two-piece spicy. She said, I noticed that while he really seemed to enjoy texting me, he didn't ask me many questions about myself like I asked questions about him. He told me a little about his life and his dogs, and that the next time he'd be in my town, he'd be bringing them with him. Out of curiosity, I asked who watched his dogs while he was on his work trips. He said his friends watched them. I mentioned that maybe I could come visit him in his town at some point, since it wasn't too far away. That way he wouldn't have to drive to see me or arrange for his dogs to be taken care of while he was gone. His exact response, we could certainly work on that. She said that's when I got the gut feeling that wouldn't go away. It literally kept me awake until I pulled out my phone and got to investigating. I didn't know his last name, but I knew his first and where he worked, so I Googled that. I found him pretty quickly And once I learned his last name, I looked him up on Facebook. I found his profile and almost immediately, along with, you guessed it, his wife's. Wow. Just see, not all men who travel for work are cheaters, but man, that's rough. She said, I sat up in my bed and just stared for a few minutes. The pictures from their wedding were posted just a few days over a year ago, meaning he was texting me about all the places he wanted to kiss me during their first anniversary. There's a lot I have to be grateful for here. I never slept with him, and I found out who he really was after only a few weeks. Based on what he told me about his job, his childhood, and his love of dogs, I truly thought he was a sweet, honest guy. Usually, I'm very good at picking up when people are lying, as I've been gaslit and manipulated in romantic relationships before. I know this is how every Reddit post of this nature goes, but with him, I really believed everything he said. It was only that one slip up over text that gave him away. Now I have his wife's Facebook account. I know I need to tell her. I was never looking for exclusivity with this man, as I honestly don't have the time for it, but I refuse to be the other woman. His wife deserves to know what's been going on. I know if I was her, I'd want to know. I've already started screenshotting my conversations with him for proof. I guess I'm posting on Reddit right now because I need assistance with the execution of it all. I really am not a malicious person, and if I feel any anger at all, it's on his wife's behalf. I don't want to destroy his life, mostly because that would probably just end up hurting her too. So Reddit, what's the best way to tell her that her husband has been stepping out on her with me? You got the Facebook. Just go ahead and message her on the Facebook and send her with the evidence you got. I know if it was me and I was the wife, I would want to know. Some people would be like, I saw a comment once where somebody was like, I don't even bother telling people because sometimes they go back anyway. So then it's like, why did I even tell them? Because whatever. I feel like everybody has a right to make an informed decision, regardless of if you end up going back, that's on you. But I would feel so bad in my conscience if I knew something like this and I didn't say anything. So just message her, hey, look, I'm sorry to be coming to you like this. I gotta let you know something. And really just get it out. In the first message, give her enough details to know what's going on. Because if you just say, hey, she might not respond, whatever. Just give her enough details in the first message. If she want to know more, she can ask some more questions. But that's rough. So some comments. OP clarified the timeline of the relationship of how she got to talk with the man. She said, I know I worded that weird, but it's not AI. What I meant by just a few days over a year ago is that it's only been a little over a year that they got married, and we were talking during what would have been their anniversary. Okay, that makes sense. Another comment said, she definitely deserves to know that her husband is picking up women in bars. Just tell her, I think you should know that your husband is not being faithful. Then send her the screenshots of the text and a brief explanation of how you met, how he invited you on dates, and to his hotel room. Someone else said, never protect the cheater. His wife deserves to know. Send her receipts too. You both deserve better. And someone else, yeah, you should contact the wife. Tell her before you tell him so that he can't block you on her account. Send the screenshots and give her the option to decide how she wants to move forward. Don't tell him you told her, just block him. He's definitely not in an open relationship because if you're ethically non-monogamous, you'll tell your other partner. Yeah, I agree with what everybody's saying. You know what, men, they always slip up. They always slip up. It'll be just one little thing that they say, and you'd be like, what do you mean by that? You just gotta store it in your mind for later. And then they'll slip up again. You'd be like, wait a minute. Because that slip up matches up with the last slip up. Then you start to investigate like this girl. Then you be finding stuff out. It's like, child, a mess. Update 3 days later. Hi again. A few days ago, I posted asking for advice on how to tell an older man's wife that he was trying to cheat on her with me. Since then, I received a lot of feedback, which I'm grateful for. Before I get into what I chose to do, I just wanted to clarify a few things. A lot of people took issue with the fact that I didn't know his last name after talking with him for a few weeks, and others thought I wanted to steal him from his wife. I guess I didn't explain well enough before, but I was never looking for an exclusive relationship with this man. School and work are my top priorities right now, and because of that, I simply don't have the time or emotional energy for a committed relationship. When I met him, all I was hoping for was something casual, especially since he didn't even live in the area. He could have been hooking up with other women while seeing me, and that truly wouldn't have bothered me as long as he was being honest about it and wearing protection. I didn't think to ask him his last name before the 3-week mark because I really just hadn't made an emotional investment, but you all are right. If I'm going to get involved with someone romantically or intimately in any capacity, I should learn their last name much sooner, at least before I go out with them. One person also said to avoid tourists and people on business trips from here on out, and I agree. Even in the casual sense, it's going to get messy. Yeah, because people just be cheating. Traveling to cheat. That's crazy. She said, like I said, if he'd been seeing other women, it would have been fine with me. Some of you said that he might be in an open relationship, which I touched on in my first post. I don't think this is true because the point of an open relationship is that you're open about it with both your partner and the other people you're seeing. He never mentioned being in one or having a wife at all. So even if he was, he still lied to me. And I just keep thinking like he has only been married to this lady for a year. You already cheating at the 1-year mark? Come on, like get this man some help. You're just fiending for a cheat. She said, so for the actual update, I told her the question in my last post wasn't whether to tell her or not, it was how. I lost sleep over this the last few days. I spoke with some of my close girlfriends, and they all said they'd want to know if they were the wife in this scenario. I decided to message the wife when he said he'd be at a doctor's appointment. I thought reaching out to her while she's alone and has time to process before seeing him would be best. I essentially explained the situation just like in my last post with some extra details I left out here for anonymity's sake, so she'd know I wasn't lying. I apologized a lot, sent her screenshots of our conversations, and asked her that she not tell him that I gave her this information. If she went through his phone on her own, like I suggested she should, then she'd be able to see the proof for herself, and hopefully she'd decide to just leave me out of it for my safety. I told her I'd leave our chat open for 24 hours if she wanted to talk or request more screenshots, and then I'd block her. At this point, I had already blocked the husband's number and his Facebook account too, just in case, even though we weren't friends. So 24 hours had passed and no response. I'm not sure if Facebook allows you to see read receipts for messages if you aren't friends, but I know the message was delivered. She has not responded, and so I've gone ahead and blocked her. She might not have gotten it, to be honest, because sometimes I'll log into my Facebook and I'll see message requests from like a year ago that like don't go, because if people are not your friend, it's not going to automatically go to like your inbox. I would have maybe even tried to find like her Instagram or something if she potentially has an Instagram, because she might not have got it. I hope she does though. She said, before I found out about his deception, the husband mentioned that he'd be in my town this week and he knows which days I work. Hopefully this is the end of the story and I never see either of them again, but if he decides to show up at my bar, then I will update if I'm still alive. Damn, you really think it's gonna go like that? I mean, you really can't put it past anyone, but that would be kind of an extreme reaction. She said, thank you all again for your feedback. And to the guy who messaged me suggesting I could be the other woman in his marriage too, you're wild for that. That is wild. Someone asked about him posting on Facebook about the doctor's appointment. She said, no, he didn't put on Facebook that he would be at a doctor's appointment. He told me that he'd be there prior to me finding out he already had a wife, because we were talking about the next time he'd be visiting my town. And then someone else was asking how they met if she didn't know his last name. She said he happened to come into the bar that I bartended at while I was working, and that's how we met. Someone else said, you're exhausting. And I feel like every potential man you date should be required to read this entire post you wrote and its update first before they agree to go out with you. I think you need to be real upfront with the type of person you are. Why are they saying that? What did she do that was exhausting? I don't get that. She said, honestly, this is great advice. If I could wear a big sign on my forehead that says, don't try to cheat on your wife with me, I'll tell her on every date I go on, it would save me a lot of time, energy, and money. Someone else said, if you message her and you're not friends, she'll only see it if she sees that there's a message request. As for read receipts, if you looked at your message sent and a dot with her profile pic appears at the right bottom, then she read it. I'm hoping you have some kind of support at the bar you work at should he come in and be angry. I'm sure you do, but definitely have a buddy with you when you leave if he doesn't appear for the time he's supposed to be around. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She might not have gotten it, to be honest. And like this person said, she would know if the wife saw it because the little profile bubble will be next to the message indicating that she read it. I don't think she got it, to be honest. Is there any other update? Because, damn, I don't think there is. I have a feeling the wife still doesn't know. There's no other update. And this was a month ago. I hope she's okay. Because she was talking about if I'm still alive, like, why would you even go there? Are you really worried about that being a possibility? That's crazy. Well, let's go to the next one. I, 30 female, caught my husband, 31 male, in an affair and don't know how to move forward. Why do these people just be cheating? Husband and wife. I just feel like if I get to the point where I feel like I want to marry you, I would find it hard to see a reason where later on down the line, I'm cheating. Unless I'm really just a terrible person. Like, I don't know. Like, that's your husband or wife. Anyway. She says, I've suspected things had been going on for a while, but kept brushing it off. I thought he would never do that to me. Since around April, he's been refusing my attempts for a 2-piece spicy most of the time, sitting differently on the couch to where he's facing away from me, little things. It's with one of our good friends. She came to my house a few weeks ago. She's texted me. She's pretended to be there for me. I found out because I rolled over and they were having a Snapchat conversation. She said she wished she could be there to hold him, and he summarized that I tried to seduce him last night and mocked it. I confronted him and he admitted it. He said that it was because quarantine was stressful. He does not want to work things out. He thinks of me as only a friend in his heart. When I told her husband, she married too? They deserve each other. When I told her husband, he confronted her and apparently they actually kissed back in February. I think at that moment, I was never going to be enough for him. We used to be so happy. The week before they kissed, we celebrated Valentine's Day together. He bought us a nice bottle of wine for our anniversary. We had fun. We were perfect. I don't know where to go from here. We'd been married only about a year. I feel like he took so much from me and doesn't even want to go to therapy or work this out. I don't want to leave my house, but everywhere in it, I see him. He chose her. I've been cheated on in every relationship I've ever been in. He was supposed to be my forever. I don't know what to do. I've made therapy appointments, but I was also laid off last month, so I have too much free time to analyze every single moment where he might have been lying to me or where I made myself pathetic trying to cling to him. How do I start to get through this? I just couldn't imagine your husband. Like, I've been cheated on plenty of times, okay? But, if it's just a little boyfriend, whatever, like, okay, you cheated on me, I would give myself like 24 hours to be sad. Then I'm getting up and moving on with my life. Like, I'm not finna dwell on it and do all that, But your husband, to have and to hold, for richer or for poorer, till death do you part. Like, you really took the extra step to ensure that we would be together forever, for as long as we both shall live. And then you going and cheating? Not saying that cheating in, non-married relationships is right. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, like, why even get married? I don't know. I just feel like there's more there is, I feel like, more responsibility on married relationships to make sure that you don't cheat. Somebody said, lawyer first, get the divorce filed and get their advice on if it's okay for you to leave the house while things are processing. As for the other, You need to fill your time. Devote yourself to hobbies, including picking up new ones. Rely on friends, long video calls, watching movies together, etc. Fill as much of your time as you can until things start to process. I'm so sorry he gave up on you without even trying. You deserve a far better man than that. It's a shame some people are so good at hiding how little respect they have for other people, but please hold on to the fact that none of this was your fault. There is absolutely zero reason for a partner to cheat ever, and there is absolutely no justification that can put even a shred of the blame on you. Opie responded, "Thank you. The worst thing is that he tried to turn it on me this morning, that things had been off, but it only started being off when he started this affair, and then he started gaslighting me." Child. Somebody said, remember, he made an active choice to cheat. Every day, every time he lied, every time he texted her, he was actively choosing to lie to you and hurt you. He had other choices. He's just feeling guilty right now. So of course he's going to try to push it on you. He'll keep doing it because he's obviously someone that doesn't take responsibility for his actions. At the end of the day, you get to leave with your integrity. He doesn't. Somebody said, you can't go to therapy and work this out. It only gets worked out if both people want to put the effort in. And your husband has made it very clear he's not interested in trying to make the relationship work. He directly told you that. You need to find a lawyer and file for divorce. I agree, girl. Just let it go. Like I said, I've never been married, so I don't know how I would feel if my husband cheated on me, but just some Joe Blow from around the way boyfriend, boy. Okay, you cheated. Yeah, I'm sad. Anyway, next. You're not finna have me sad for too long. I like the advice that person gave, fill up your time with some hobbies, call your friends, have some long conversations, etc., etc. They're not even worth the stress and all of that. Girl, just move on. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done. But yeah, you definitely deserve better than that. So update 4 months later. First of all, I just want to thank everyone here for the support I received following my first post back in August. At the time, it truly felt like my world was ending. It was important to me to make this update because I need to tell anyone who's currently going through the same thing, it gets better. You will get so much better. I'm happy to hear that. And just 4 months later, I am really happy to hear that. She said, I had one conversation with my husband since everything happened by his choice. It lasted maybe 5 minutes and was like talking to a robot. I know from what others said that he cries to people about how he ruined his life, but I have never once gotten an apology or the same show of regret. At this point, I don't care. I know him and the other woman are still seeing each other, and frankly, they deserve each other. Good for them. That's what I'm saying. 2 married people cheating, that's really crazy. She said, while I still feel angry occasionally, I no longer mourn what I once had. Instead, I'm so excited for the life I now get to live. I moved to a small, walkable city and gave myself my dream apartment. It makes me so happy to see how I've decorated it and to just live in a cozy place instead of our old dreary house. I was the breadwinner in our marriage. Oh, see? How you dusty and cheating? You barely paying bills and cheating. Make it make sense. You really have no excuse. Not that anyone has an excuse, but you can't even try to make an excuse. Oh, I was just so busy. Oh, I just, I met her at work because you barely at work. Honestly, that might hurt more to me. Getting cheated on by a dusty. That might hurt more than just a normal amount of hurt. I feel like that might hurt more. Oh, and mind you, there's a 5-year update on this, so I'm going to get to that next. But anyway, she said, yeah, I was the breadwinner in our marriage, and he would make me feel awful about wanting to pay for nice meals or do fun things. Since moving here, I've done a ton of foodie fun stuff and don't feel guilty. It's so refreshing. I have dipped my toe into the dating pool again and had plenty of mediocre dates from dating apps. Recently, I found someone who I've really clicked with and am enjoying how appreciated and desired he's made me feel. It's definitely early and we're moving slow, but overall, dating has made me realize that I'm a catch who doesn't have to settle, period. I love that for you. Therapy has done wonders, and I'm so happy I immediately dove into it. My therapist is proud of me. I'm proud of me. I've stopped looking at being divorced as a failure. He failed, not me. I'm genuinely happy and excited to wake up each morning and no longer feel like this terrible weight is sitting on my chest. The holidays were surprisingly easy, and I found myself so happy to spend time with my family without having to compromise anything. So, all in all, life is good and there's so much of it ahead. Looking back, I can't believe I wasted so much time thinking about how I could get him to come home. I've made my own home and my own happiness, and that is worth so much more. Period. I love that. Bravo. I love that. See, that's exactly why I don't try to waste too much time. If you cheated on me, I'm not wasting too much time because I already know it's not going to be worth it. That energy expenditure is really not worth it. Because if you're someone who can do that, it's just not worth it to be so sad. And you know, when you a bad bee, get back in the field, girl. You'll be straight. Or guy, you know. So this is the second update 5 years later. Wow, I can't believe this happened over 5 years ago now. In some ways, it feels like it happened to me in a different life. I still get messages asking about this, and I figured I could add some insight into how life can look a few years down the line after everything gets completely and utterly wrecked. Good news, if you put in the work, it looks pretty freaking great. First of all, where is my ex-husband now? I haven't had contact with him since September of 2020 and largely don't keep track of things, but I can see that this man still follows me on Instagram and watches all of my stories. 5 years later, that's what they'll do. That's what they'll do. Just be watching you like Secret Service or something. Yeah, damn. And then when you block one account, all of a sudden another account pops up unknown. You know, one thing that I don't like about being I'm not going to say public figure because I'm not, but having like a public Instagram account as a content creator, I'll say that, is that you can't really control who sees your stuff. But I think it's really weird. There are several Instagram accounts that don't follow me, but watch my story every day. Every day. So that means you literally every day have to go into the search bar and click my name because it's already going to be in your recently searched and go and proceed to watch my story. You have to remember to do that every day. And I just be sitting there like, who are you and why? Why are you doing this? Just follow me from a normal page like a normal person. Actually, just even follow me like a normal person. But no, you're not following me, but you're still watching my page every day. And then when I block the accounts, all of a sudden new accounts pop up. So it's like, you can't win. That's why I'm very selective about what I even share and what I even show because, you know, that's why I stopped vlogging, to be honest. That's one of the reasons why I stopped vlogging because it just be people watching and you don't know who's watching or I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but it just makes me uncomfortable with I just feel like you waiting in the shadows. Like, why are you doing that? Nah, I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. If that is you, please stop. Anyway, don't post in real time, ladies and gentlemen. Never post in real time. I always post after I leave a place where I'm at. So I went on that tangent because she said the ex still follows her on Instagram and watches all of her stories. And she said, I considered blocking him, but I just let it be. I think it's the petty part of me who's living a full life that's fine with rubbing it in a little bit. He and the affair partner did get married after a whoopsie kid, and I'm pretty sure they had another. But they also both lost their jobs as teachers. He got her a job at his school, so she was working with an entire staff that knew they had an affair and had to move to the middle of nowhere. Last I heard of them, the affair partner had been texting his former best friend unhinged rants about not including them in get-togethers or allowing my ex-husband to be a groomsman in his wedding. But enough about them because they already took up way too many pages in my story. When we last left off, I think I had just moved to a new city, shout out to Richmond, Virginia, and was largely just finding myself again. I think the change of scenery was the best thing that I did for myself. I was never meant to live in the suburbs, and moving to a beautiful little city where I can walk to coffee shops, bakeries, and bookstores honestly helped my mental health as much as the therapy. I bought a house here a couple of years ago and have really settled in. Then I got my puppy, a corgi named Bilbo Baggins, who really is the true love of my life. He is the greatest thing to happen to me and is such a fantastic, chunky guy. We go to a local dog park with a bar all the time, and he even has his own little dog social group. Kids aren't something I plan on, so he is basically my son. That is too freaking cute. Maybe that's another sign I need to get a dog. She said, it hasn't all been perfect. My dad passed away, my best friend moved across the country, and I largely haven't really been dating much the past couple of years. Dating hasn't been a huge priority for me, and my friends say that I'm probably too picky. I say that I know what it's like to be in a marriage with someone who might love you, but doesn't like you, and it's worth not settling. Ooh, that's a word. She said, but while I may be single, I am fulfilled and busy. My birthday is Saturday, and I'll be spending it in Paris at a Lady Gaga concert, period. I saw Sabrina Carpenter in Amsterdam, Taylor Swift in Lyon, Springsteen in Edinburgh, Noah Kahan at Fenway Park. Earlier this year, I was able to visit Katmai National Park and see the brown bears in the falls. I have a D&D group and a really amazing village of people I love. I love that. She said, I would not be in this headspace if I didn't go to therapy and work out the why of me settling for this man in the first place. True story, when planning our honeymoon in New Zealand, I, of course, had to plan the entire thing despite him picking the location. He refused to do any driving, so we had to do a guided tour that left on specific dates. He pretended to not be able to get a day off of work when we needed to leave until I started crying and begging him to just ask his boss for it because literally no other flights worked. That's when he said he actually always had the day off, but wanted to make sure I was actually working hard enough to choose good flights. And on top of that, he was letting you pay all the bills. You were the breadwinner. See, don't pay attention to the signs, people, because this is crazy. She said, anyway, I chose to marry that, and it was a lot to unpack in therapy. But I'm glad I did, because without it, I don't think I'd have built this life for myself. At the end of the day, what happened set me up to live a happier life than what I was living. So in some ways, I'm thankful for the experience, as crappy as it was. If you're in the middle of something terrible, unfair, and world-shattering to you, just know that it's not forever. While this experience has made me a bit of a believer in karma, I also know there was a lot of work to get myself out of that big black mental hole. Sometimes it seemed that I would slide back in it, but by looking forward and figuring myself out, I eventually clawed my way out. I think you can too, and know that you're worth fighting for. I love that. I should have read that story last, because I feel like that's a great segue into like the palate cleanser. Now, I hope the next story don't end crazy, because it's just going to undo everything that we just did. But let's see. My boyfriend of 2 years, 31 male, says he can't marry me, 31 female, because of something he found in my phone. Hi everyone, sorry this is a bit long. I just want to give enough context. My boyfriend and I went out of town this weekend to celebrate our anniversary. We spent the day doing activities around the city and then went out to dinner. He's not much of a drinker, but since we were celebrating, he decided to have a few drinks. When we got back to the hotel, he was definitely drunk, but I still wanted to enjoy the night, so we started watching TV. Out of nowhere, he suddenly said, I went through your phone and saw that you cheated on your ex-fiance. I could never marry someone like that. He also kept saying, I've known for a long time, I just never brought it up. If you want to be honest with me, you need to be honest. She said I was engaged back in 2014, and apparently he had gone way back through my phone and found old text messages and photos from that time. Now, first of all, let's really just, who has time? Because mind you, this was posted in 2025. Who has time to go back 11 years, back in the archives, 11 years to be looking at messages and pictures from 11 years ago? It's giving he looking for a reason. It's giving he really don't want to marry you for real. If you're going back 11 years, that is a RICO case. You trying to build a RICO on this girl. You don't want to marry her for real. 11 years, I was a totally different person 11 years ago. I can't even speak for the person who I was 11 years ago. Now, granted, if she really did cheat, that's one thing. But it sounds to me like he was looking for a reason and he found one. Cause that is really crazy. You just scrolling, perpetually scrolling, 10 years worth of scrolling, 11 years worth of scrolling. Do you have a job? All that scrolling. She said, I am a bit of a hoarder when it comes to messages and photos. I just never think to delete them. I have text messages going back to 2012. The thing is, everything he saw was from after my ex and I had already broken up. I tried to explain that, but he wouldn't listen. He started yelling and calling me awful names, like a garden tool and a word for a female dog. He kept saying I was a terrible person and that he could never marry someone like me. It got so bad that when he went to the bathroom, I went downstairs and asked hotel security to help me get my things so I could leave safely. Security came up with me, and even then, he kept trying to convince me not to leave. Security had to tell him several times that he couldn't stop me if I wanted to go. I ended up going to a relative's house nearby for the night. Since then, he's been texting me non-stop, telling me I'm not marriage material, that I'm a bad person for leaving him there, and that he could never trust me. I'm honestly really hurt and confused. I've never cheated on him or on my ex for that matter. Does he have a right to be upset? Is this something worth trying to work through? In my humble opinion, it's not worth it. Because like I said, I strongly believe he's looking for a reason. For what reason that is, I don't know. Maybe he cheated himself and he trying to make himself feel better and put it on you, and or he don't like you for real and trying to find a way to get out of the relationship. But it's really not making sense. Again, I wouldn't be spending my, you know what, if you think, okay, whatever. If that's what you think, okay, whatever, bro. You don't think you can be with me? Oh, wow, I'm so sorry. Like I said, 24 hours. After that, we got to wrap it up. For me personally, I'm not saying she has to do that. I'm just saying for me personally, like I'm not finna dwell on that. No, let's wrap it up quickly. And why you even come on a trip? Now you done wasted the trip. I could have came on this trip by myself. You should have did all this before we even got here. Now I'm mad. Like, come on, bro. Somebody said, honey, he's the one that's not marriage material. Dump forthwith. Someone else said, and thank God he outed himself as a complete jackass before you actually did make things government official. Yeah. Someone said, right? He went back more than 10 years when she was 20 years old. That's absolutely laughable. A lot of maturity happens between 20 and 31. She dodged a bullet. She should be glad he outed himself. That's exactly what I'm saying. The person I am today is not the person I was however many years ago, especially 11 years ago. That's crazy. And someone said, and she said she never cheated back then anyway. He read text, didn't understand the context, and jumped to the worst conclusion. That's what I'm saying. Someone said, and turned abusive and scary. Another person, he was looking for an excuse to be that. He felt like letting loose on her, and he used that misunderstood information, which he'd gotten long ago, as a way to make it her fault, as they do. I just don't understand what he was trying to do there. But there was an update the next day. First off, I want to thank everyone who reached out with support, kind words, and even alternative perspectives, even the tough or negative ones. Your feedback truly helped me see things for what they were. Now, for some context about what he found in my phone. Back in 2014, I was engaged. He came across pictures of me with another man taken in early 2015, someone who obviously wasn't my fiance. Since he didn't know when my ex and I had broken up, he jumped to the conclusion that I cheated. I'm not saying that excuses his reaction, but I wanted to clarify the situation. It honestly just seems like self-sabotage. He can honestly never let himself be happy in our relationship. It has always been like this, and I should have seen this as a red flag from the beginning. When I got home on Sunday morning, I took some time to process everything and figure out my next steps. I followed your advice and called my mom and best friend, and they were both incredibly supportive and helped me think clearly. I decided to go back to my hometown for a few days to give him space and time to move out. On Saturday night, during one of his angry texts, he mentioned he'd be out of the house by Thursday. On Sunday night, I locked myself in my bedroom while he slept on the couch. I even kept my phone under my pillow just in case, but thankfully, everything was uneventful. He leaves early for work, so this morning I packed my things and left. My plan was to stay gone until Thursday when he could move out, but I'll be honest, and I know some of you might shake your heads, I couldn't leave without knowing I had proven the truth. I went through my Google Photos and old messages and found the final conversation between me and my ex-fiance, which confirmed what I already knew. We broke up at the end of 2014. I never cheated. So I sent him a long message. I told him I was done and that I did, in fact, expect him to be out by Thursday. I also told him there was no undoing the things he said or how he treated me, and that I was finally at peace knowing I told the truth and that I hadn't cheated on him or anyone else. I also included the screenshot of the final text messages between me and my ex confirming the timeline. He read the messages and immediately tried to backtrack, saying we both hurt each other and we need time to process things. But there's really nothing left to say. He was completely wrong, and now that he knows it, he's trying to walk it all back. I'm not standing for that. He's so delusional that he feels like he can gaslight me into believing that I hurt him in some way over something that happened a decade ago, and I didn't even know him. He did apologize for calling me out of my name, but that's nowhere near enough. I feel strong in my decision to leave, knowing I did everything I could in that relationship. I'm so thankful for all of you who offered encouragement and advice during such a dark time. It truly helped me find my strength again. I know I probably should have just let him think whatever he wanted to, but I just couldn't help myself. Now that I'm safe and away from him, I can answer any other questions you might have. I'm the type of person too. Like I'm not finna just sit there and let you think the worst of me. I'm gonna get the facts out on the table now. Whether you choose to believe it, it's up to you. But I'm gonna clear the air. You're not finna just be going around town saying I did this and this and that. No, let's clear the air. Let me give you the receipts, buddy. So for the palette cleanser today, oh, this was so cute, bro. This was so cute, bro. The palette cleanser today, it's this little video of this boy. The caption says, he's been asking for the Switch 2 for months, but he knows how crazy the price is. He was saving his money and gift cards to go towards it. And then like 5 crying emojis. And then the text on screen says, wholesome content. No one is more grateful than this angel of a child. And it's being taken from the point of view of, I'm assuming this is his father. He's in the house. The little boy is sitting at like the kitchen table, watching his iPad and eating, looks like ice cream or something. And the dad comes in and is recording, and this is where it is.
So you're gonna be with mommy next week on your birthday. So I'm gonna give you your present a little early, okay?
He sees that it's a Switch.
Dad.
Oh, please.
Thank you.
Oh, bud.
And when you hear the dad voice at the end cracking, whoo, that got me. When you hear the dad voice at the end, that really was like the icing on the cake. Cause the boy already was emotional. You could tell he was like very, very happy to receive the gift. The dad slides him over the box. He, is taking the wrapper off. He sees it. He pauses and then he starts tearing up. But then he gets up to go give his dad a hug. And you can hear his voice at the end. That touched my heart. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.